everyone, I'm here for Fiiber by India today and welcome to the battery drain test comparison between the Poco F6 and the OnePlus 12R. Now this is going to be a pure performance showdown, and before you storm the comments and say why compare these phones, because while the OnePlus 12R starts at 40,000 rupees, the Poco is available starting at 30,000 rupees. That's a good 10,000 rupees difference, and that's what I'm here to talk about. You see, the OnePlus 12R is powered by last year's flagship chipset, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. On the other hand, the Poco F6 is also powered by a flagship-grade Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 chip. So if performance and endurance are two of the key selling points for you while getting a new smartphone, should you get the OnePlus 12R for about 40,000 rupees, or should you save your cash and get the Poco F6 at 30,000 rupees? Let's find out. Now on your screens are the key specifications of both the Poco F6 and the OnePlus 12R. As you can see, compared to the Poco, for more money, the OnePlus 12R gets a curved screen that's also brighter, a premium build courtesy of the glass rear panel and metal frame, a 16GB RAM variant, while the Poco has a 512GB storage variant on offer. Bigger battery, slightly faster charging on the OnePlus, and for what it's worth, there's also an extra 2-megapixel macro sensor at the back, making it 3 cameras at the rear of the OnePlus 12R. So which one should it be? Should it be the OnePlus 12R, or should it be the more affordable Poco F6, or should it be the Realme GT60? Now, I compared the Realme GT60 with the Poco F6 in the battery drain test comparison, and I suggest you should definitely check out that video in the card above. But for now, let's focus on these two smartphones. As always, we kick off by booting up both devices, and they boot neck to neck. So both smartphones on the table have light mode enabled and are connected to the same Wi-Fi network. The brightness and audio are set at 50%. Vivid color profile is also set. All the image and video enhancement settings are enabled. 120Hz mode is enabled, and of course, both the phone's batteries are 100% and discharged. Alright, you might call me out for repeating the same stuff I said about the Poco F6 in the Realme GT60 battery test video, but honestly guys, the case is the same against the OnePlus 12R. The 12R's display versus the Poco is brighter and better. Of course, a flat display makes more sense to me always, like you have on the Poco, but looking at the performance side by side, there is no doubt that when it comes to high brightness mode, 1200 nits of the Poco F6 and 1600 nits of the OnePlus 12R. And when I put these two on the table at 50% manual brightness, the 12R is the brighter one. Granted, you can also use auto brightness, and in those cases, under harsh sunlight, the Poco F6's panel does get sufficiently bright, but similarly, in auto brightness, the 12R's display gets even brighter. Now, is the 12R's display worth the extra cash? Well, we're not going to get into conclusions so fast. Let's see all the other rounds before making a final judgment. For now, straight up quality-wise, in terms of brightness and colors, the 12R is certainly the better one versus the Poco F6. Okay, 2 hours have passed in the battery drain test video, and we are done with the YouTube video playback round. And with its bigger battery, the OnePlus 12R is in the lead with 92% battery, while the Poco F6 is now left with 89% battery. With that, it is now time to run an hour of 1080p video recording, and while both phones are at it, here's a look at the camera specifications of both devices. The Poco F6 features a dual rear camera system featuring a 50-megapixel IMX882 primary camera, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera, and a 20-megapixel snapper at the front for selfies. Video recording is capped at 4K 60fps from the rear camera and 1080p 60fps from the front camera. The OnePlus 12R, on the other hand, features a triple rear camera system comprising a 50-megapixel Sony IMX890 primary camera, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera, a 2-megapixel macro camera, and a 16-megapixel snapper at the front for selfies. In terms of video recording, the rear camera is capped at 4K 60fps, while the front supports up to 1080p 30fps recording. Now, here are some of the comparison photos of the Poco F6 and the OnePlus 12R side by side. Let me know in the comments which phone you think took the better shots. Of course, For a detailed overview of the camera, the individual reviews of both phones are live on Fiiber, and I will also leave the video links in the description below. With that, we are done with the 1080p video recording round, and after 3 hours gone, the OnePlus 12R has extended its lead by a bit. It is now left with 75% battery, while the Poco F6 is now left with 69% battery. Now on to the interesting bit, the benchmarks, and now let's see how the 8S Gen 3 fares against the 8 Gen 2. So the Poco here has the latest Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 SoC, a trimmed down version of the 8 Gen 3 chip. This is coupled with up to 12GB LPDDR5X RAM and up to 512GB UFS 4.0 storage. The OnePlus 12R on the other hand has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 SoC with up to 16GB LPDDR5X RAM and up to 256GB UFS 3.1 storage, which is the older storage standard. Now first, let's take a look at the read and write speeds, showing the difference between the older UFS 3.1 storage on the 12R versus the newer UFS 4.0 storage on the Poco F6, and the Poco scores double, suggesting in the real world, if you do a lot of PC transfers or you plug in your SD card to the phone, the Poco will have an advantage in terms of speed, in terms of read and write. Of course, for an average consumer who just wants a phone for performance, well, both devices should suffice for you, but we have to acknowledge that for the less money, the Poco F6 does have the faster storage standard. Anyway, let's get back to the main benchmarks. So in Geekbench 6, despite the 8S Gen 3 being the newer chip, a trimmed down version of the 8 Gen 3, and despite scoring solid scores, falls way behind the 8 Gen 2 inside the OnePlus 12R. In Antutu as well, the OnePlus 12R manages to take the lead with a good 1.25 lakh margin. That said, the scores of both phones are pretty solid for being upper mid-range phones. However, just like it happened in the GT60 battery test, once again the Poco posts a solid 91.6% stability score in the 3D Mark Extreme stress test, where the OnePlus 12R scores an okayish 66.6% stability. Finally, in the CPU throttle test, the Poco F6 scores a solid 90% stability, while the OnePlus 12R scores a decent 74% stability. Now here are the benchmark scores of both phones on your screens right now. You can pause and take a look. So 4 hours have gone into the testing, and right now the OnePlus 12R is in the lead with 48% battery, while the Poco F6 is trailing behind with 37% battery. Now let's talk about the gaming. So when it comes to the gaming bit, and allow me to bring in the Realme GT60 into the mix, and all the phones, the Poco F6, the 12R and the Realme GT60 can play any game out there available for mobile phones. But speaking specifically of the Poco and OnePlus here, and how the GT60 sets itself apart, is that under heavy loads, all phones get hot, but the GT60 cools down faster in comparison to the Poco F6 and the OnePlus 12R. In fact, between the Poco and the OnePlus, it is really difficult to choose one, because while the Poco heats up a lot, it takes its sweet time to cool down. But yes, once it does, it's an extremely lightweight phone which is comfortable to hold, something I can't say for the 12R, which is a heavy phone, and once it heats up, the metal frame does get considerably unbearable to hold. So performance wise, a tough call to take, but I think the Poco does seem to be a better option here. And what about the GT60? Well, wait for the final verdict of this video. Alright, we're done with the gaming round as well, and in total 5 hours have gone. Currently the OnePlus 12R is in the lead with 37% battery left, while the Poco F6 is now left with 26% battery. With that, we are in the last leg of our battery drain test comparison. I will now run an hour of Instagram on both smartphones here, but without keeping you waiting until the last minute, I am going to fast forward to the 6 hours mark, and with that, the OnePlus 12R finishes with 28% battery left, while the Poco F6 finishes with 14% battery left. Here's an hour by hour breakdown of the battery drain of both phones on your screens right now. So looking at the performance and most importantly endurance of both phones here, there is no doubt that even if you are a heavy user, both phones are capable enough to easily give you that 1 day's battery life, and both of them have that fast wired charging as well. The question remains that which one among the two reigns supreme, the 30,000 rupees Poco or the 40,000 rupees OnePlus 12R. I would say performance and endurance are two of the key selling points for you while getting a new phone. Yes, the 12R delivers a better performance than the Poco here, but is it 10,000 rupees better? Well, not really. And in that case, if you are inching towards getting the Poco F6, I would suggest checking out the Realme GT60 as well, because with the ongoing offers and discounts, the 8GB plus 256GB or even the 12GB plus 256GB variant of the GT60 offers better value, that is in terms of money, in terms of performance, as well as battery life. So I strongly suggest that you check out the battery drain test video between the GT60 and the Poco F6, and also let me know in the comments if you want to see a separate battery drain test video between the GT60 and the OnePlus 12R. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. As always, for all the latest in tech, stay tuned to Fiiber. I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you for watching.